Welcome back, friends. I didn't have a little book to put my ATCs in, so I made one. Let me open it up here. It just has some greeting card sleeves, some trading card sleeves, and I will show you how I did it. My name is Bug, and I do paper crafts and paper craft adjacent crafts, and I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take apart this lemonade packet box. This is something that I drink almost every day. I know that it's probably not good for me, but it keeps me hydrated. So usually I try to find the seam here. Here's the seam. And I try to kind of detach it without making a ton of, without causing a ton of, I don't know, what am I trying to say? I want it as clean as possible, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know that it will be, but I try. Because essentially one end of it is going to be grabbed by the glue. There we go. That's not too bad. So I'm going to use my paper trimmer to cut down because I want to cut off all these tabs. Sometimes I use scissors. I also have another trimmer, paper trimmer that is just for cardboard and chipboard that I use with my old blades, but this is fairly thin, so I'm just going to use this one, and I don't know where the other one is, so I can't. Just going to line it up, cut this off, there we go, and then this side. I do use the trimmer upside down, and also I prefer to come towards myself, but I do both depending on what I'm doing. So there we go. I'm gonna get rid of those, put those in the recycling. And I found actually some of these the other day on the floor, and I thought they were little Tim Holtz ephemera pieces, but they're just the little tabs from the box of lemonade. So anyway, I kept a few of those. Now I want to stabilize my cardstock, so I am going to back it. You don't have to do that. This step is optional. And also, if you are backing your cardstock or backing your base, then, you know, there's a good sign that maybe you should start with something that's thicker, but this is what I have, so this is what I'm using. So I'm just going to, I don't know why I'm doing it this way, because you could just measure and then cut. All right. So I'm going to back this with some fabric. Let's see here. I'm going to put the gray side against the fabric. So this is the side that we want to see. So I put it upside down. I'm putting this on here because this side with this writing on it, I'm going to cover with this cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these pieces apart, and I'll show you why. I'm going to leave this box intact, but I am going to cut, I have a white pen, which seems silly. There are a million pens in this room. Let me see if it works. I'm just going to make some marks where the spine is. Oh yeah, I can see that. I am going to glue this down. I want the brown side to be out, so essentially it'll be like this. And I'm just going to glue it. Okay, so I'm gluing this side with my glue stick. There's going to be all sorts of different parts to this book, so I don't need this to be a super strong bond. And like I said, I don't think it's going to get much work. So there's that. Just going to try to work out any bubbles. I love this fabric. So there we go. Gonna make sure that it can fold at the fold lines. I didn't mention, but I left these two side pieces on, so it's gonna be a little bit off, but that's okay. What I mean by that is this seam to here and this seam to here are different lengths. If I would have thought about it, I would have cut it, but I'm not even really worried about it. As I'm looking at this, I'm thinking of other ways that I could do it in the future that would make more sense to me, like my style, but that's okay. So now I have this page that I'm going to cut on these little marks that I made. There. And this one is going to be a little inside the mark. There's that. Now let's take a look at it. This page is going to go here. This page is going to go here. Not yet, because I still want to fold over my fabric. And then this one is going to go here. And basically, if the color from the box bothers you at this point, then you can definitely, I think it's this way. You can definitely adjust or color it. You can even use the white gel pen, but there we go. That makes more sense. So now I have this little piece. What I want to do is make it easy to fold. If you have a full piece of paper inside the fold, then it needs to fold all of that paper at once, and it might not, close up nicely. But here, we're going to allow just a tiny bit of space where the fold actually is, so that it's easy to fold. Now, I'm not going to do this yet, but I did want to kind of eye it and make sure I understood where all the pieces were going before I fold down the fabric, because it's just easier when you can see the whole piece to figure that out. Also, at this point, you can cut this piece down. I do want to cover this this part of the box. And so to figure that out, I'm just going to move our sides and just hold it in place and fold up both sides. So it seems good. If it were too big, if I cut, beyond my little lines that I drew, then it would be too wide to bend nicely or fold nicely. So this is good though. So now I'm going to figure out how to glue this down. I'm going to miter the corners, and you know, I don't know how to miter a corner. I get very confused about is it supposed to go this way or that way or whatever. And so I'm going to, let me first cut this down. It'll be easier. I'm going to miter the corners. How I try to remember it is it's the opposite of a corner rounder. Instead of doing around this way, you want to do around this way, and you always want to make sure that you have space to cover the point. So it doesn't have to be a ton of space, but you don't want to cut it right on that line. You want it to be able to wrap around that point. So you want to cut it fairly close to that point, but not all the way up to it. So I'm just going to do this. And leaving extra is much better than cutting it too close. So if I need to cut them more, I can do that. So that's how I ended up cutting those two. You can see that there's enough cloth here and here to fold over the points. Try to do the same thing this way. And the same thing this way. Now, these little pieces you can throw away, or you can put them aside to use them in your clusters, however your system works. Now I'm going to glue these down, and what I'll do is I'll hit them with the glue stick, and then when we put these papers down, we're going to use wet glue, the art glitter glue. So I'll do this. Probably easier if I do it like this. I'm going to do this side. These other sides. So when you miter the corners, you're trying to get rid of all of this bulk here. So if you end up folding it down and there's too much, you can cut more of it away, but it is up to you. I am not too worried about it. I'm just looking at what it's going to look like. There is that part of myself being not confident in how exactly to do this once it's adhered. I'm going to try it. Okay, everybody hold your breath. Yep. Okay, that's good. Much better. Okay. So there's that. I think this one is good. Again, we just don't want it to be lumpy. And we're going to adhere paper over it, so don't have to worry too much. And across here. All right. And before I put, let's see. Okay. Before I put my cardstock pieces on, I want to add some ribbon to act as a closure. I usually put way too much ribbon. I'm not going to do it all the way through either, so I'm just trying to figure out how much I need. Here to here and here to here. That seems good. Always add a little extra when I do this because I can cut it off. But if it's too short, I have to do something else. So here's this, and I'm gonna cut. I do have one of those We Are Memory Keepers ribbon cutters, so it kind of, it heats it to cut it, and then it kind of burns all of the ends together. You can also use like fray check, something like that, if you're worried about your ribbon unraveling. I am just going to put this down, and this is where I start to use my wet glue. So maybe I want it to at least adhere to the paper and the box, because that's what's going to give it the best stability. And I'm going to eyeball this over here. I'm going to stand up and make sure I'm in the frame. And then I'm going to pull in a little bit. So I just kind of want them to be even-ish. Before we glue these on, I do want to say that if you have book pages, painty papers, other fabric that you want to use, you could definitely do that either in place of or on top of this cardstock piece. I'm just using this because I think I'm gonna, I have the option to cover it up with something else when we're done. So, all right, this is bothering me, so I'm going to put a little dot of wet glue there. Hold it down for a second. This is art glitter glue, so I use it for fabric to paper and paper to plastic and fabric to plastic and all of the things. Here we go. Make sure this is correct. Just eyeballing it before I glue it down to make sure that the pages are about right. This one seems correct, top to bottom and back to front. It's going to be just the right size. And then this one might be a little long. It is going to pop out here on the end, so I'm going to take my trimmer and just cut down maybe 1/8 of an inch. This is something you definitely can just eyeball the tiniest sliver and do it a couple of times until you're where you are, until you're where you're at, until you're where you want to be. Let's see, let's try that now. Yep, all right. So, then I also have this one, which I'll put in last. extra there. And get it right in there. Let's see. Whoa, whoops. Had to pull it closer to my face. Sorry about that. Just adjusted it a little bit. Okay. Just try to get around the corners. My glue loop at the corner. And see how close I can get it. Sorry. Sorry if my fat head is in the frame. Nope. Now we have our spine. There are a couple of ways you could do this now also, as far as getting the book completed. A lot of times I take a spine piece and I will sew signatures to it or staple signatures to it before I glue it down. That way, if I need to adjust them or remove them, I can do it, you know, without kind of messing with the cover itself. But I don't think I really need that kind of, I don't think I need that for this one. Let's see. So I'm staring at it now, trying to decide how much this yellow line is going to bother me. We could always cover it up afterwards with the paint pen or a gel pen if it is really concerning once it's done. This is for me too, so. But anytime I do something, you know, that I know that I'm going to use myself, I still want to kind of think about how I would engineer it or what I would do if I were going to give it away. So give it away, give it away. So let's get this in here. The glue dries so fast. You can see where it bulges out a little bit where the ribbon is, but that's okay. All right, now we have a cover. Look at how cute it is. Like I said, this end is going to be out just a little bit further, but once we have it filled and cut and tied up, you won't notice that much. Okay, just for clarity, I'm going to edit out or just edit it out in the future that I grabbed my, you know, my mixed media stack of of finished things, because I wanted to create something signature style. When I make a junk journal, I usually put a heavier piece of cardstock on the outside of each of my signatures before I sew them into the book. And I kind of wanted to do that, but I really think it's just over-engineering this. It already looks cute, and it has a function that doesn't need this extra amazing paper. So I'm going to set these aside as if I never told you about them. And I'm just going to sew these in. You can, do this any way you like. I am going to do the stack of 3 with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, the tiniest 3-hole pamphlet stitch. I'm first going to grab my binding stuff. I'm going to take one of these sheets. This is for trading cards, baseball cards, and it's the binder type that has the 3 rows. These happen to have a pocket in front and in back, although I'm not sure why, because technically you could put 2, facing different directions. Anyway, so I just cut this down along the line, making sure that it retained a pocket, and now I have 3 pieces of that. Okay. Gonna take each of these strips. I'm gonna cut this extra piece off. You could do this with with your paper trimmer. I didn't say you should use your paper trimmer, but maybe you should. And this one. So, I am going to make sure first that the holes are at the top on each of these. And we do have 3 sections, so at this point you want to decide whether you want your little pages to fold in this way, or you want them to fold in this way. I don't think there's a right way. When I close it, what I'd like to do is close each one of these and fold it separately, kind of like that. But let's get it sewn in and see what we can do. This is a standard 3-hole pamphlet stitch. There are 1 billion tutorials about the 3-hole pamphlet stitch on YouTube, so you can find those. Just gonna try to even this seam down the middle of this spine piece. These clips might not be long enough. They're not. I have to get longer clips. That should be okay. Maybe 1 will be fine. Yep, that doesn't even reach. Luckily, I have other clips in my bag. So I personally don't really like the look of the Sorry, I personally don't like the look of the threads on the outside, so I like more of a hidden spine type of book. As far as how my style, I do okay, let's see. One more time. Let me do this. Let's see if I could do it like this. Okay, I think we got it. That's close to the middle. I'm gonna keep those ends up. This spine is so short that there's not a lot of room to work with. And these are really slippery. Okay. Now, got to get my awl and make some holes. My awl lives in this thing. This is just an old style metal pencil holder that I put a magnet sheet in. And I keep my needles and all in there. So I want 3 holes, and let's see. All right. Then I want it close to the top here. There we go. And just eyeball somewhere in the middle. Let's see what we can do. I'm having a hard time grabbing this little needle. I'm just going to use the bigger one. Okay, we want a little tail. Sometimes just to make sure my tail stays in, I'll go ahead and clip it down. It's not foolproof, but at least it will give a little resistance if I start to pull too far. So this one. And to the top. Okay. I could just feel that it wasn't pulling far enough. It was wrapped around this part of the clip. And so 3-hole pamphlet stitch, the part that people find the most frustrating or the hardest is getting back into this middle hole without actually stabbing your needle through the thread. So I try to pull this thread down just a little bit and put the needle above it. And of course, this is like the tiniest hole too, so I think I got it. Yep. And there we go. So before I tie it, I'm going to put my needle away. I'm going to check it out, make sure it's not caught on anything. And make sure that one side is on one side of that, and the other part that I'm going to knot is on the other side of that middle thread. And I just do that. Sometimes I'll put a little charm in the middle, so I'm going to keep these, except could also do some charms this way. Unclip, unclip, unclip. And just going to take a look here. I guess you could do this any sort of way. But my thought was to have each one of these in the back fold in independently. Not all three of them folded together. Just like that. I'm just going to take a piece of this same ribbon and glue it down over our thread. This is definitely extra. It doesn't really provide extra support or anything. I'm just going to cover it up and add it as another point of interest. That's not straight. You could definitely kind of wrap it around if you wanted to. There we go. I'm going to use my wet glue. To take off the lid before you use the wet glue, just do a small bead along each side and a little puddle at the top and the bottom. Should use some tweezers for this. There we go. Just folding it to kind of see where I can make it even down the middle. looks good. You can definitely sew each of these in separately, and you can definitely add other pages, other ephemera or book pages, or, you know, things to make it any type of book that you wanted. You could put note paper in here, but I just wanted to make a holder for my ATCs. And let me just cut these away. I'm going to need some better scissors in here if I'm going to cut ribbon and fabric. Oh no, there we go. Oh no. There we are. Just for the looks, I'm going to cut this down. Just a little bit. Tie it. And probably trim some of this, just a little. Yay. Okay. The reason I made this little book is because I can't find my other ATC book. I had a, my last ATC book was one that was made out of a 49 in Market tag book. It's just a product that they put together that's a small kind of cardboard book that you can alter, that has little pockets that also have tags, and I was using that for ATCs. But I have this that I got from Angela, and I wanted to make sure I had a place to put it. So it's going to be the first one in this book. Here we go. Perfect. So now you open up this little book and you see this ATC from Angela. I hope you liked this one. I did have some appliques that I thought about putting on here. They are little daisies, but I thought that I would save them for my daisy extravaganza. So I am just going to tie this up, and it is all done. I appreciate you being here and watching this one. If you have any questions or ideas, let me know in the comments.